Hello everybody, hello great souls, hello. I'm Christelle and this is episode 9 of the Cosmic Clinic podcast. Thank you for being here. Now for those of you who are new, this podcast is about exploring the mind through astrology, neuroscience and nervous system work, especially aimed at sensitive and high-performing individuals who want to build success in alignment with their natural wiring. So I'm happy you're here. As always, before we start, I do like to encourage a bit of stillness, a bit of calm, and also for you to just maybe stop what you're doing. I want to invite you to slow down for a moment. And you don't have to, I always advise that you don't need to be learning, improving or fixing anything right now, but just to be present and to just breathe. And if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes just for a moment and bring your attention to your body. Notice where you are holding tension. So for me, it's on my shoulders. So just relax, drop the heaviness of your shoulders and just gently allow it to soften even slightly. Allow your face to kind of like relax all the way through. And just notice. And I want to offer a few thoughts to sit with as we begin this episode. That you don't need to become someone else to succeed. You don't need to override your natural abilities, your nature, in order to perform at a high level. Your mind, exactly as it is, already contains a pattern, a rhythm, a way of working that can support you. You are not behind, you are not late, you are in a process of understanding. And understanding changes everything. Now just take one deep breath here. And then we'll begin. So, today I want to talk about something that I think is often misunderstood, especially in the worlds of entrepreneurship, productivity, and even astrology. I want to talk about what it actually means to be a high performer, because when people hear the phrase, they often think of intensity. They think of someone who is consistently doing, constantly producing, constantly pushing forward. And obviously, it does make sense, doesn't it? I mean, we're not fully wrong, I guess. But what I've been observing, both in my own life and in the people I study and work with, is that high performance is not really about intensity. It's about alignment. And more specifically, it's about alignment between your mind and your nervous system and the way you are structuring your life. There are people who are incredibly intelligent, incredibly capable, but unfortunately, they never quite reach the level of success they're capable of or wish to have. And there are others who, from the outside, don't appear to be doing anything dramatically different, but they build consistently, they build sustainably, and over time they create something very significant. And the difference between the two isn't necessarily talent. It's rarely that, in fact. It's more often something more subtle. It's how they are working with their natural wiring, their natural blueprint. And this is where astrology becomes incredibly useful, because your chart is not just describing your personality, it's describing your operating system. And essentially that is what Cosmic Clinic is about, establishing what your unique operating system is. So essentially it's showing you how your energy moves, how your mind processes information, how you respond to pressure, and how you take action. And when you understand that, you can start building in a way that actually works for you. So when we talk about high performers through an astrological lens, there are a few key dynamics that tend to show up. And I want to move through them very slowly in this episode. And not as rigid rules, but as patterns. And the first one is Mars. Mars is often simplified as drive or aggression, but it's more precise than that. Mars is how you initiate action. It's how you move from thinking to doing. And what's interesting is that not everyone's Mars operates the same way. Some people have a Mars that is fast, direct, and decisive. They act quickly. They don't overthink. They learn by doing the thing. And other people have a Mars that is much more considered, in that they need more time, they need more context, they need to understand what they are doing before they move and act. Yeah? Now, if you take someone with a slower, more reflective Mars and you place them in a system that rewards rapid output and constant action, they will feel like they are failing, like they don't have the width, the capacity, the abilities, the competence. But really, it's not that they lack the ability, it's because they are working against their natural rhythm. Now, from a neuroscience perspective, this is very important because action is not just a decision, it's a nervous system event. And for some people, taking action is super stimulating. And for others, it triggers hesitation or even threat responses if the environment feels too uncertain. So high performance is not about forcing yourself to act like someone else. It's really about understanding how your Mars works and then building a structure around that. And then we have Saturn, our good friend Saturn. And Saturn is where things get really, really real, because Saturn is not interested in your ideas. Couldn't give two hoots about your ideas. Saturn is interested in what you can sustain. It's your capacity for discipline, for consistency, for long-term building. And this is where a lot of us struggle, because we can generate ideas and we can feel inspired, but when it comes to repetition, structure, discipline, showing up over time, something breaks down along the way. And Saturn shows you where that breakdown happens. It shows you where you feel the pressure, where you might doubt yourself, where you avoid responsibility. But it also shows you where your greatest strength can be built. Now, from a neurological perspective, Saturn connects to something like execution function, which is your ability to plan, to regulate, to follow through. And this develops over time. It's not something you either have or you don't have. So when people say that they are not disciplined, often what they are really saying is that they haven't yet established or built a structure that supports their nervous system. Because discipline without regulation turns into burnout. And this is something I've had to learn personally. There's been times where I've tried to push myself into routines or systems that look good on paper, that look good on, TikTok, that look good on YouTube. But internally, they created resistance in me. And I used to interpret that resistance as a flaw. But now I see it differently. Now I ask, what would it look like if I was aligned? And then we have Jupiter. And Jupiter is often the part people enjoy the most, including me. Guilty here. Because Jupiter is all about expansion, it's opportunities, it's growth. It's where things feel like they are opening, where things feel like opportunities are finally arriving. But Jupiter is not consistent. It comes in waves. There are periods where things flow more easily, where ideas connect, where opportunities appear. And then there are periods where the expansion slows down. So if you rely only on Jupiter and that kind of attitude and perspective, you become dependent on momentum. You literally start to chase the high. But if you combine Saturn with Jupiter, something changes. You take the opportunity and you stabilize it. Now remember, Jupiter is opportunity, Saturn is stabilize. You also expand and then you integrate. And this is what high performers tend to do. They don't just move when they feel inspired. They build systems that allow them to continue even when the feeling is not there. Now, I want to bring this back to something more personal because this is not just theory. This is a lived experience. As someone who is neurodivergent, as someone who has a mind that is constantly processing, constantly analyzing, I've had to really understand how I work. I've had to learn when I am actually being productive and when I'm just thinking about being productive. I've had to notice when I am forcing myself and when I'm actually aligned. And one of the biggest shifts for me has been understanding that high performance is not about doing more. It's about doing what works for you consistently over time. It's quieter than people think. It's less dramatic, but it's far more effective. And I think this is particularly important to sensitive and intuitive minds, deep thinkers, because you're not designed to operate in a constant pressure. You are actually designed to sense, to process, to understand. And when you learn how to use that instead of suppressing it, your performance changes. It becomes more sustainable, more intelligent, and more precise. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you have potential that isn't fully expressed, whether it's through your creativity as a creator, you're a founder of a company or a small business, a startup, or whatever it is in life, I want you to consider something. It may not be that you need to push harder. It may be that you need to understand yourself more clearly. Because once you understand how your mind works, how your energy moves, and how your nervous system responds, you can begin to design your life in a completely different way. And that's where things start to shift. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with something to sit with. I think it's always nice to have a bit of a prompt to kind of reflect on the topic at hand. So, if you remove the pressure to perform like everyone else, what would your natural way of working actually look like? Not the ideal version, not the version you think you should be, but the version that feels sustainable, focused, and real for you. And if you trusted that way of working, what might become possible over time? Just notice what comes up, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.